Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. I was too busy texting on my mobile phone. You know, our generation is caught up today with a lot of social media, and we always have our faces in our phones. That's kind of why I'm thinking we should call our generation Generation Text. Generation Text runs from 1998 to 2008, and it's anyone born in that time span. I say this because anyone born in that time span is always texting on their phones or using social media. We don't talk face to face like we used to. I think you'll find that in a lot of our interviews today that this is a true fact. With Generation Text, the main thing is technology. Technology's come a long way since before we were born. Computers, the internet, laptops, even handheld devices now that make it so easy to do this stuff.
I think one characteristic of our generation is being distracted. This is with like all the social medias and friends and worrying about what other people are doing all the time instead of focusing on like the important stuff like school and sports and family and God.
I think a characteristic that describes our generation is technology driven because we're so focused on all the new things that we have, like cell phones and computers, and just trying to better them every time we get updates and everything like that.
I think one characteristic that describes our generation is superficial because everyone seems distracted about the wrong things, about our smartphones and about who's popular and about what's really important, and we don't really know what's really important at our age. And
I'd like to say a characteristic of our generation is innovative because we discover new ways to give awareness to certain things and stuff that's going on through social media and the internet.
A characteristic that describes our generation is sociable because we're always on our phones, texting, Snapchatting, and using social media to connect with each other.
I think our generation is more lazy because our parents, to do research, they have to go to the library and do research with books and things like that. And now today we can just go do a Google search and find all our research at our computers at our house. Our generation's symbol is the Apple logo because as we grow older and older, technology keeps getting better and better. So we aren't doing as much, but we keep innovating.
An important symbol that describes our generation is the Twitter bird, just because Twitter is like such a big part of our generation along with other technology or social media sites.
a symbol that defines our generation, I would say, is a peace sign, not for peace, but just because everyone's like, hey, what's up? And not really being very serious, I guess.
I'd have to say a symbol that represents our generation is a Netflix symbol because pretty much everybody watches Netflix, and I don't know anybody who doesn't. And it's become really popular with our generation because it was born in our generation. So
I'd say there are a lot of symbols that represent our generation as a whole, but the one all-encompassing symbol would definitely be the Twitter logo. This is because it represents social media these days. Twitter is a very popular form of social media, and a lot of people are on it, and it shows how we're all connected to one another. You can see what people are up to on Twitter when they update through tweets. And you can tell that a lot of people like this because they're closer to their friends and family, know what they're up to.
One defining moment in our generation was the 9/11 attack, and that's because a lot of airports are more strict, and really showed that our nation can all come together and work together as one.
I think a defining moment in our generation is the inauguration of the first African American president, Barack Obama, and to actually have him go 2 terms, because that's opened up for a lot more people to be more able to run for president, including other African Americans and women.
An important historical moment in our generation is having a female run for president. It's during this election, and she's run before, and I think that's an important historical event that's happening.
I think an important historical moment right now through our generation is having a woman run as president, because we've been making progress about women's rights and other people's rights, and this is like a big step towards that.
I'd say the biggest historical moment that happened in our generation is definitely 9/11. It showed us that even though the United States is the best country out there, it definitely is vulnerable at times. It can be attacked. But this also brought us closer as a country. Although it did up security in airports and other places, it made us realize that we can't be fighting amongst each other. We gotta band together and stick up for each other.
One social trend of our generation is something like texting or social media. We're not as much connecting with each other face to face as we are over the internet.
I think a big social trend of our generation is cyberbullying and how people are kind of afraid to say it to someone's face now and uses it just over text and doesn't really get to see their reaction to the actual bully.
A big social trend for our generation is recycling. It's become a big deal and there's a lot of focus on it and trying to make the world like better and cleaner.
I think an important social trend of our generation is the fake Instagram world, where you have a regular Instagram that's like determined your popularity by how many likes you get, and then a fake one where you can like let loose and like rant about anything, or I guess a lot of that is like making fun of people or just seeing like the real you, I guess.
I think a social trend that's come up during our generation is definitely using Uber, because it helps people get home if they don't know like where they're at and they don't have a ride. So it provides transportation for people, and a lot of people are doing it now.
Important social trend of our generation is Snapchatting, just because it's like a really easy and quick way to send pictures to your friends or even just communicate with them in the quickest and most efficient way possible.
I'd say a very big social trend these days in our generation is definitely interacting on social media rather than face-to-face with other human beings. We like using social media because it's quick and easy and we can do it from our homes. Interacting also can sometimes mean we can say things that we aren't necessarily brave enough to say face-to-face.
One key figure in our generation, I believe, is Pope Francis, and that's because he sees that we need a change in the world, and he sees the flaws in the Catholic Church, and that's kind of what we're doing today.
I think one of the key figures in our generation is the Kardashians, which is not necessarily positive. It's just that we're so wrapped around what their world is like that we pay attention to them because their life is not like ours.
I believe a key figure of our generation is Malala, just for her perseverance and strength to fight for equality and justice for all, even in the toughest of areas, and her just overall perseverance just for what's right.
One key development for our generation was the smartphone, and that introduced things like social media and like other ways to communicate with our friends besides just text messaging through like other things like apps and FaceTime and Skype.
I think tablets leave a lasting impression on our generation because it's a lot easier to carry around than a laptop and generally more efficient.
I'd say an important milestone in our generation is apps that can share music, just because it's so much easier to listen to music, discover new artists, and just enjoy music now.
If I had to choose one song to create Generation Tech's anthem, I definitely have to choose YOLO by The Lonely Island. Now, I personally believe YOLO is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. It stands for You Only Live Once, and at first it had a great message saying let's go out and take some chances, but then people turned it into something really stupid. They used it every time they did something stupid and thought just because they said YOLO was okay. But YOLO by The Lonely Island kind of brings this all together. Take a listen and see what I mean.